Today in Hoopty-Doodle's Honda Grom Chopper build series, we're going to continue to work on the rear wishbones of the frame. We're going to put the top wishbone on, and we're going to insert the axle plates into the wishbones. Alright, we got our frame up on our table here. Now we're trying to figure out where to cut these things. These things are way too tall, and we need to cut them down. But where? And so where we cut these is going to set the ride height for the bike, essentially, because, well, kind of, sort of. It's going to be the beginnings of setting the ride height. Wherever the wheel axle sits denotes how far down the wheel will sit below the frame, and therefore the ride height. So looking at our actual wheel here, this is the actual rear wheel. We put our tape measure on the axle. The axle is like 9 inches off the ground. The table is the bottom of the frame. So from there up, if I cut this thing at 6 inches, in theory, I'm gonna have 3 inches below that. But yet we're gonna still get the axle plate on here, so that will be up higher, at least ½ an inch. And so that means we'll be closer to 2.5 inches below the frame, 2.5 inches of ride height. We can play with it later when we go to put the axle plate on there, but for now, I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna mark these and cut them at 6 inches. And I wanna try and sort of cut these straight if I can. All right, now I want to get this thing back on the frame jig. All right, so now the top wishbone here, we get this guy on here. All right, so now that we've got our axle plates done, I actually want to put them on the wheel and sort of get the wheel set up on the frame and kind of get a feel for how this is all coming together. All right, so let's take this apart. What I'm trying to do is make sure the width of my wishbones here is wide enough to accommodate for all the stuff, the gear and the mount for the brake caliper back here. So I want to make sure all that stuff fits in so that if I do mount my new plates like right in the center of the wishbone tubes coming down here, is the wheel still in center with the frame right here, because we want the wheel directly behind that frame, and if that's the case, if that all lines up, then we're good. And it does look like it's going to be that way once I get the brake caliper sort of rotated up on the rotor a little bit. There seems to be plenty of room for the wheel and everything. All this stuff should, like that. That is with the axle plate directly in the center of the tube for the wishbone on this side. And then on this side, same deal, and I have like an inch, ½ an inch or so in terms of spacing, extra spacing. So I'm gonna have to make a spacer or spacers to go in on either side here, and then I think we'll be good. I think this will center up no problem. And if I need to adjust the size of the spacers to make it work and have the chain line in line with the gear for from the transmission on the engine, we should be good there. So I think this will work. All right, so my plan then is to put the axle plates right in the center of these guys, like so that they are exactly in the center, like that, which will involve notching these things back. I still need to cut this top tube back a little bit. And after I do that, I also need to adjust this guy over here. This one is kinked in or bent in just a little bit. When I bent this tube, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect bend. I didn't do a perfect bend from this maneuver from bending this thing and then bending this guy back here. It's off just slightly. So I need to get in here with another tube over the top of this thing and bend it over. So before I do that, I need to weld it up back here so it will hopefully not come apart on me when I apply all this force up here. Go ahead and cut these guys now because as you can see with this guy, it lines up in here pretty good like that. We got plenty of room to cut this off. I'm gonna basically cut it off. Just go straight up like that. Cut that little piece there off. To do that, I'm gonna try and mark it with this. By putting this guy on here. There. Alright, so I mentioned before that one of these guys is slightly off, and so let's take a closer look at that. If we look at this one, you can see they look lined up pretty good there. And look at this one's just slightly off. So we put this guy on here, sits off from the side just a little bit there. This one's probably not bad enough. I could probably get away with it. I'd like to try moving it over and seeing if we can do that. All right, so here's my contraption. The cat is inspecting those little snake-like things to make sure that they're safe. And I basically strapped the frame to this guy here so I can apply pressure to that, and this thing will be solid. This is the most solid thing in the shop that I can tie it to. So, got a long pipe. Alright, I don't know if you can tell or not, but these two are more aligned now. And apparently this is part of the chopper building process. I've read this on the internet. I'm not the only one that has to make these sort of corrections at this stage in development of the frame. So this is a fairly common procedure as far as I know. But if anybody has any other information on how to do this better, I'm sure you could have a much better jig than I have and possibly not have to worry about this. But if there's any other techniques, let me know. All right, so next we want to go ahead and notch these guys so that this will have a place to fit in between or inside these tubes. So I'm going to do that. It's basically going to be something along the lines of that. It'll basically be cutting this little section like that right out of here. And this is going to be kind of an art rather than a science. We're going to try and do this and try and get it as tight of a fitment as we can, but there's no guarantees in life here, man, or chopper building. All right, so there's been a lot of dremeling on this thing. I've been using this guy a lot to sort of fine tune things. All the other tools with these weird crevices and stuff, trying to get in here with a grinder is very difficult. And so it was kind of a hack job at the beginning there. But then with this thing, this is the only thing I had that I could get in there and sort of finely tune everything. So you can kind of see what we're going for here in terms of the axle plates. I'm gonna keep refining this thing, and then we're gonna move on and do this other side here, and then we're gonna put them on, try and get everything on the frame jig, and I'm sure there'll be more refinement then. So I got a lot of work ahead of me. I'll see you later. All right, so that's it for today's video. In the next video, we're gonna be continuing to work on this frame, get the other axle plate in, get the whole frame back onto the frame jig, get those axle plates aligned, weld them in, and hopefully have a very nice looking frame when we're done. And so hopefully this video is helpful to somebody out there, and if that's you, God bless you. And because this is kind of a lot of work, but hopefully in the end it's all worth it. I'm definitely learning a lot along this journey, and that's kind of what it's all about. And at the end, we'll have something fun. Have something fun to ride and enjoy and admire and look at. So thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck on your own projects. Keep on wrenching. We'll see you next time.